Imagine you work in a furniture store and you find a secret room that goes through under the basement, but it doesn't just end there, it keeps going on and on and on. What would you do? This is Backrooms. Welcome to the Borderline Reviews. If you're new to the channel, push that subscribe button because me and my emotional support octopus Sam review movies and TV shows every single week. 2026 is the year for horror. We already have Weapons and Obsession, and now we've got another subliminal nightmare horror film from A24 and Kane Parsons. This is just one of those films you have to see on the big screen. So go to your nearest cinemas and watch this film. I'm not going to tell you how this film begins because if you're a horror fan, you should witness it yourself in the theater. But the story goes something like this. We have two main protagonists in this film. One's a therapist and the other one works in a furniture store. The film starts with themes of loneliness, two protagonists struggling with trauma from their past. We have some original themes of them trying to understand what's better, starting fresh so you're not alone, or loneliness and just living with it. What starts as a little investigation turns into something more insidious. Our main guy, Clark, he lives in the store because he was kicked out by his wife. The lights are flickering, he's got this building and he doesn't know what's wrong with it. He has an electrician who comes around and checks the fuse box, but they can't really figure out what's wrong. The lights go on and off and he tries to find out what's up. And on one of those chances, he stumbles upon the Backrooms. You know the first rule of horror? When you see something weird and are not sure whether this is safe or not, you just turn around. Especially when you know this is not super safe. You've stumbled upon this maze of rooms and you don't know what's on the other end of that. But this guy, he just goes in there anyway. Clark sees a whole different world in this Backrooms, but he still doesn't decide to go back. Not only he goes deeper and deeper, he does it without any rope. At least tie yourself to something so you can find your way out. But what do we have here? Something weird happens, there's stuff everywhere, and he finds a bag with some ID and stuff in it, but his plot armor is so thick that he actually finds his way back. He truly shouldn't have. Clark then goes to our therapist, she doesn't believe him, so she wants to prove him right. He goes to his employees to take a camera and find more about the Backrooms, this time with supplies. They go inside deeper and deeper, more rooms, more random stuff. Clark wants to send the cameraman down a hole where he can potentially find out what's going on. But what happens is he gets taken away by something. We don't know what it is. Clark and his store assistant get separated. They're being chased. I know this is the 90s, but maybe call the police or a friend or someone. We've all seen Barbarian. We know what happens when you find something or more rooms or a space under your house. If you haven't watched Barbarian, please do. What an excellent film. At this point, we find out that there are people looking through cameras, probably scientists, as this could be an experiment. The film then shifts on to the therapist. She comes to find him at his store and just goes into the basement, and then we have her in the Backrooms. At this point, as a therapist, when you know your patient has been talking about something that doesn't exactly seem real and you are concerned for their safety or whether they're having hallucinations or whether they're going insane or not, you should at least contact the police just to let you know that this person's gone missing, probably for a week. She hasn't seen him. And she does go to find him, and then when she does realize that this is where the Backrooms are and they do exist, instead of contacting somebody else, she just goes straight in. We've seen multiple horror films where the protagonist does that and things go wrong, and this film isn't anything new. Both of our protagonists are incredibly stupid. Mary here makes a bad decision. She goes in and manages to find Clark, but he doesn't seem like himself. And guess what? Now Clark is the villain. He makes her unconscious. At this point, we also keep on cutting back and forth between the therapist's mom and her relationship. This part of the film bugged me a little as I wasn't sure what it was trying to be. Was this film trying to be a commentary about people's trauma or memories, or whether it was trying to be just a horror film? The therapist finds herself tied to a chair as Clark is right in front of her. He's been here for a few days or maybe a week at least and has somewhat lost his mind. He has found some other people, or at least versions of these people, who don't feel pain or are not really exactly real. Clark and his therapist reenact this scene, which they do just in the beginning of the film as well. It was the night where Clark was kicked out of his own house by his wife. As this scene finishes, we have some kind of a monster who comes in and kills Clark. Mary escapes and runs away as she's trying to get out of the back rooms. She goes through a whole maze of rooms, and at this point it's just a chase scene. She's finally able to harm the monster a little bit, and the scientists find her. They start asking her questions about the back rooms. Turns out they've been investigating themselves and doing research on what these backrooms are and how they're turning up all across the world. We don't really get an insight or answer for what they are and where they come from, but what we do understand is that these rooms have memories, or at least versions of people's memories in there. Some of those are good ones and some of them are bad or even horrifying. The film then cuts to Mary, or at least a version of Mary, in the backrooms, and that's where this film ends. I genuinely do admire Kane Parsons' attempt on doing something different to bring this idea to life. It was quite amazing to see all of that. The film had some good points, like the background score, the acting was solid, and all the real life sets were quite great, especially for the big screen experience. It has the right level of creepy and uncertainty attached to it. But on the horror element, that's where I think the film lacked a little bit. There were some elements of body horror, but it wasn't too grotesque. I believe they were moderate. However, I feel that we could have had some more time in the back rooms. Parsons should have added some more horror elements. Instead, we spent too much time outside the rooms. I'm also not sure on how I feel about what the back rooms are and where they come from. Yes, we've got scientists investigating it and trying to find out, but if this liminal space is endless, you should have some rules in there, or is it truly a space that is not bound by time and any rules? I would say go watch this film in the theaters. It is truly a unique experience when you go and watch it on the big screen. The film, the sets, all of it looks great, and the background score does carry the film for the most part. It could have had some more horror elements, but that's okay. It wasn't too disappointing in that aspect as well. But that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Subscribe to the channel to show some more support, and I will see you next week.